Well, hey, Guardians. Rise of Iron is actually getting closer and closer. We're a month and a couple days away from it. So there are a couple things I wanted to get you guys, especially because we're in the middle of Iron Banner and there's a few important things to make note of. A few more of these you can do as we get closer, but things you can do to prepare for Rise of Iron. I'm trying to come up with a complete list. If you have any more, leave them in the comments below so we can all kind of be working off the same list, but one of the many things you guys can do, we know we're going to be working for higher light level, not higher character level, so getting a whole bunch of experience at the same time is not going to be that beneficial. So stocking up a whole bunch of bounties, you would think, nah, it's not going to be that good. Well, there's a few that are actually going to be quite beneficial. A few of these, especially the Iron Banner ones, are going to be quite helpful because as you can see, pretty good amount of experience. The Iron Banner standing is not going to matter. The other thing to make note of is the legendary marks, 25 for each one. If you have 3 characters and you can go through Iron Banner on all 3 characters and save up these legendaries and still get to rank 5, that's going to put you in a really good position because 75 across each character is going to be 225 legendary marks. Right now, legendary engrams are about 150, armor's like, 60 or 90 depending on what you're getting. So that's a chance at quite a few marks. Another thing to make note of, Trials of Osiris bounties. There's usually 2 every week. And if you can pick those up, work on at least having them in your inventory. If you get different ones on different weeks, there are actually multiples that you can get. I've heard up to 4 potentially. So there's three bounties when it comes to Iron Banner. You can have those, and this is the last one, so make sure you hold on to them. Trials of Osiris, watch on the weekends. Make sure you're picking up the bounties that give you legendary marks. Try and complete them too, of course. You're not trying to do all that in the last week. And then finally, as we're getting closer towards that last week, make sure you're doing those Lord Shaxx bounties. Try and save up on that second to last week enough of these that will actually fill up your weekly bounty. So as soon as you turn one in, you'll get for one potentially a new item, which would be cool. If not, it's just going to be an older item, maybe at a higher light level, whatever it's going to be. It's also probably one of the highest experience bounties you can have. Huge boost to Crucible. So bonus across the board. So that one's going to be good. So save up a few of these on the week before that you can turn in, and then as soon as the next week rolls over, just do your 5, one less thing to worry about in that last week. Finally, you do want to actually have some of these normal bounties. Now, if you can find some of these that are worth 3,000 instead of 2,500, you're better off. They'll give you a little more reputation. And if you do find some of the ones where they actually give you a little bit of planetary materials, it's a bonus. So there's quite a few bounties. If you've got 3 characters, this can take a little bit of work, but if you can save up as many bounties as possible going into Rise of Iron, those are still going to work for experience and other things like that. Crank them all out, and you'll be in better shape. Now, what are all the bounties going to do? Well, for one, here you're going to get a fair amount of Crucible reputation. This one's probably not going to go that far. Here you're going to get Vanguard reputation. From both of these, you're going to get Faction reputation. Now, when it comes to your factions, most of you guys are probably pledged to 1 right now. I'm getting close to 20 on this one for Future War Cult. So, what you want to do is actually probably be pretty close to this, maybe 1 or 2 more bounties closer, so you have 1 bounty that you can turn in that's going to kick you over that mark. So, as soon as Rise of Iron launches, if you turn in a bounty and you go over your reputation into the next rank, you're going to get a package. Now, the new packages are going to have the choice of 3 things. Now, they said weapons and armor. I don't know if it's going to be weapons, armor, class item, what that third one is, but when they showed the picture of it, they showed it was, say, like a Future War Cult weapon. But there were 2 other ones in there. One's got to be armor. We've heard that discussed, but I don't know what the third one is. If it's going to be an ornament or a shader or a ship, more of a cosmetic type item, I'm not sure. That could be the other option as opposed to a class item. That would probably make the most sense. So, cosmetic, you've got your armor, you've got your weapons, you want to go after some of the stuff that isn't quite as gear important. So what you can do is you can pick, hey, it's like on this first quest run through I got, I'm missing a piece of gear, I'm missing whatever. Now, the other thing about factions is most of us are pledged to 1 and you've got it to a certain rank. If you've got them to rank 3 at least, you'll start getting packages for whoever it is. Now, I've got each of mine at least over 3, I know, but I've stuck with 1 trying to level them up. What you can do is if you get one of your factions close, and you're not, see, I'm like 19. I'm not going to get to 25 probably in the next month. I might get close, but you've got time to plan this one a little beforehand. But the only thing is you don't have too much time, because right now we've got, for resets, we've got the 23rd, the 30th, the 6th, and the 13th. So you've got 4 weekly resets. You can change your faction once a week. So you can change it on the 23rd, change it on the 30th, change it on the 6th, and you can come back to your first one on the 13th. So that last week, you're prepped, ready to go. Now, the reason you would change it to the other factions is you could get the other factions just as close here. So in those next couple of weeks, you know you could be guaranteed another faction package. Now, it's kind of optional if you want to do that, because as you play through, you're probably going to get a faction package from Future War Cult, say for me as an example, and you're probably going to get another one as much as we're going to be playing. So it's kind of a toss-up if you really want to do that. If you don't do that, then what I would suggest you do is try and go through and potentially get all three of these as high. Vanguard, get that one as close as you can. Crucible, get that one as close as you can. Now this is where it gets kind of difficult. Both of these help your faction. So if you get your faction close and you want to keep the one you've got there, that would be the time to switch it as you get both of these closer. So maybe switch this one on, say, the 6th, and then if you don't want to play for that last week, take a little time off, which may not be a bad thing because we're all going to be playing like crazy. Take a little time off, but do that second to last week. Switch it over and work on your factions getting these two up there, and then when you switch back, then everything will be ready. Just means you won't be able to do anything, so just be prepared. If you do go over, then you got to try and reset that thing again, and it's not the easiest to do. 2,500 takes quite a bit of work to fill in. So that's what it is when it comes to factions, faction edging, and what that's going to do is at each one of these, you're potentially going to get a package. So Vanguard, package, new weapons, new armor, whatever it may be. Crucible, same thing. Factions, same thing. 3 different chances at gear, potentially higher than obviously what you are, which is a good thing, so try not to do these too quickly together. Again, make sure you're always equipping stuff that's higher, and potentially spread those out in that first day. As you go through the story, you're going to do certain things, so you're probably not going to do the Nightfall first and kick off 500 experience, but as you do stories and quests and things like that, you're going to be getting experience. So depending on where you want these things to drop, you may give yourself a little bit more of a gap. If you edge it first and you come in here and you turn in a bounty, well, then you're obviously going to have to go all the way around again. If you turn in a bounty and you get yourself closer, then as you level up through Rise of Iron's just even story campaign and get some blue and green there, then when you turn in these and you get legendaries, they're going to be higher. So you can kind of have that debate with yourself if you want the legendaries early, and you can infuse those, of course, as you get blues, which is fine because we all should have plenty of marks, which I'll get to marks in just a second. But that's kind of a debate you could probably have with yourself if you want to edge it, have it really close, turn in, a Crucible bounty, a Vanguard bounty, and probably push all 3 of these over and you're going to be good to go. 3 new packages. Potentially the only thing is there, if you're 335 or 334, whatever you are, you're going to get stuff that's probably like 339. Now, if you save a little bit of room and say I'm down here halfway through or something, you do a quest, you do some stuff, and then you get it partially through, then you might start seeing stuff that's like 350. So, I'll talk about that a little closer as I get there, but just an idea of that's kind of the thought process that you need to go through with your character, and if you have multiple, all your characters. Next thing to discuss, legendary marks. Have these as high as feasibly possible, because what you're going to want to do is, of course, go in there, buy something new, buy some of this new stuff. You don't know which ones are going to be the great guns. I know some people like me, of course, are going to go through the vendors, try and find some of the stuff with the best rolls. If you have that, try and find some of that stuff early. I'll try and post up some vendor look-throughs as soon as possible. But if you want to have your legendary marks as high as possible, that way you can spend them on something, get some legendary new gear that could potentially look awesome, and start making yourself better off. Glimmer. Of course, have this as maxed as possible, and if you start getting anything that you can turn in for Glimmer, start saving that. It's going to be better. You've got a month, you can sit there. I wouldn't farm. Glimmer doesn't seem to be an issue as of late. I buy stuff occasionally just to lower it down, like weapon parts or heavy ammo synths. Whatever you want to do, you can buy that stuff and then go from there. Also, strange coins, motes, these types of things. Strange coins for Xur. Try and hold on to them. I know I do my Xur videos every week for you guys. Unless something is like amazing, unless they sell like Hawkmoon or something you don't have that you really, really want, I would probably start saving these things up. At this point, you probably have what you need. I'm still going to tell you guys what the good and bad ones are, of course. If you don't have like the Halo yet or Bad Juju, those are some pretty useful ones just because, arc damage on a primary, it's rare. Super builds, obviously extremely important. Things like that are worthwhile to pick up, and they're usually not too expensive. And if you keep playing, you'll probably get some more strange coins. But Xur in that first week of Rise of Iron either is going to have a whole bunch of brand new stuff or he's a total waste. Either way, he's also going to be a very good use for heavy ammo synths. In that first weekend with, for one, the raid, and two, him coming in that first weekend, you're probably going to be able to go through a lot of heavy ammo synths, buy some more, and those actually can also be useful for reputation as well if you need them. So, strange coins, start stocking those things up. You've got a month, you've got a while. Iron banners going on. I already keep accumulating a fair amount of those. Motes of Light. This is not all my Motes of Light. They're split between characters. But As of this point, if you have any gear that you want to level up, like say this, I just keep playing with matches and stuff and I've been loading this one up. But I would not spend motes of light to say level this one up if I wanted hand cannon reload speed just to do it, because at this point you want to start saving your motes of light. You're going to have a whole bunch of new gear that's over this stuff. You can infuse, of course, but that's still going to take marks and other things, but you're probably going to have plenty of new looking awesome gear that you're going to want to level up as fast as possible. And we know how many motes it takes to level up armor. Weapons, there's also going to be plenty of weapons, so I wouldn't spend motes of light just to level this one up to test it out. So save those motes as much as you can. Armor materials, weapon parts. You can buy weapon parts occasionally if you get maxed out on Glimmer. You can buy heavy ammo sense if you get maxed out on Glimmer. Both are helpful for one, upgrading your weapons, which we're all going to have a bunch of new stuff to upgrade. Two, if you need to edge a faction, it's another way to, just throw a little more in a faction. If you keep accumulating that stuff over the next month, you're going to have quite a bit to throw at a faction if you really want to. Armor materials the same way. We're going to have tons of new gear with a whole bunch of perk bubbles to fill. So make sure you keep stocking these things up. You should have plenty if you haven't been going crazy on armor. But at this point, if you haven't been, start stockpiling those because you're going to get a bunch of new stuff. If you get 4 new pieces of gear, and unless you're just going to infuse everything and look old, which you can do and still be just as high as before. But if you want some new stuff, this is going to pay off. Gonna run over here to you guys to show some other stuff here. Let me look at my list as well. Weapon parts, strange coins, Vanguard marks. Now your vault, that is a topic of discussion. They said vault space is actually going to increase after launch, but soon after launch. So they're working on the live update for whenever that thing comes out so they can actually help you with some vault storage. But the thing about your vault is if it's full, depending on if it's full of legendaries or if it's full of exotics. Legendaries are something, if you feel like you want to clear out your vault right now and get ready for Rise of Iron, hold on that thought. Because legendaries, when you break them down, will give you legendary marks. So, the benefit of that, of course, after the fact of Rise of Iron, if you go through on that first day, I know we're all going to want to play like crazy, but if you can actually have kind of an order of like, I want to break down this, have space to do it, and just have a character ready to just be your clearing person and go through and clean a bunch of stuff out, you'll have even more marks to spend. So that way, if you do want to buy that first piece of gear, that first weapon, let's say the Vanguard, so you come up here, the Vanguard has a new shotgun, it's awesome, I want it, it's got great perks. Buy this one, break down some stuff in your vault. There's enough stuff between armor and weapons and artifacts and class items and things like that you can probably get these marks back pretty quickly. So having those in there is going to benefit as well. The other thing, when you start getting topped out on marks, one thing you can come over here and spend them on instead of, for example, weapons and things like that. At this point, if you don't have a gun, I wouldn't spend your legendary marks on it. Just go for random drops and rolls and hope for the best. You've got a month. I think you guys can sit tight. But these materials, we're going to need all of these. Now, Wormspore, I doubt we're going to need much of that. They may have a new thing for Rise of Iron, say like, Siva or something, who knows. But Spin Metal, Relic Iron, Helium Fillet, Spirit Bloom. These are all going to be needed, so stock up as much as you can. So I've got 153. Once I get close to 200, come through here and buy 4. Now, if you sit here and you do 10, and you do the daily PvP and the daily story, you get 3 of these back in the same day, and you just keep stocking these up every day. 30 days worth of 20 of these, that alone is 600 of each of these. So you guys can stock up a ton of materials, so you're just ahead of the game, have that stuff sitting in your vault, so if you need to pull stuff out, you're not worried about materials, just one less thing is you're leveling up gear that you can actually use in your favor. Let's see, I think I've covered most of it at this point. Glimmer, keep that one stocked. Faction edging, that's up to you guys. I would pick similar relatively, maybe 3/4 the way through, so as you do a couple things, turn in some bounties, you can get close to there, and that way when you're about part way through the campaign, you'll start getting some of those packages at a higher level. Other than that, if you guys haven't pre-ordered the game and you have any interest in this one, just do it. I would probably tell you guys, obviously, hold off on pre-ordering lots of things for like a new release, but it's Rise of Iron. If you guys like Destiny, pre-order it. You get the new Iron Gallahorn, you get the new Iron Galar Wing, and you get the quests will give us those once we get there. But just the fact that if you're going to play it anyway, buy it in advance. You can do it through the PlayStation Store, you can buy it through GameStop, Amazon, wherever you're going to do it. Just pre-order the thing. That way you can have it pre-downloaded. You can play it at midnight or whenever this thing goes live. Probably 10 o'clock for them since they're going to do that late launch as they tend to. and you guys can just be ready to go. And you're just not going to miss out on anything. You're going to get the pre-order bonuses, which they're not huge, but you may as well just pre-order it. I think that covers a pretty good lengthy list of stuff for you guys to look at. Honestly, that's a lot of stuff to do, I know, but the big one is the Iron Banner weekly bounties. Hold on to those right now. The rest of the stuff you can do over the coming weeks. The Trials bounties, start looking at those. At least grab the ones that have the marks as rewards, because there's 25 there. And if you have two, at least I've got two on one character that I picked up last weekend. Now, apparently you can get two different ones, so that would be 4. So if you have 100 from Trials bounties and 75 from Iron Banner bounties, that's 175 on each character. You're talking about 525 legendary marks. You can sit there and like buy a piece of armor, buy a headpiece, buy gauntlets, buy a special weapon, buy a heavy weapon. And if you turn in all your bounties and things like that between your characters, you're going to be able to buy a bunch of stuff. Clear out your vault. That might be another, 75, 85, 100, whatever that is going to be. So between all of those, you can buy, 4 weapons, 6 pieces of gear, something like that. All going to be awesome to get you that boost. For one of new gear, so you can see some of the new stuff, some of the new rolls. All good things going to be beneficial. So marks are going to be one of your biggest things to load up on however possible. So bounties is going to be one of the biggest benefits. Outside of that, don't forget the Shaxx bounty, you can do that. So I'll try and give you guys a reminder on some of my videos to make sure and tune in. I might do a little bit of Trials bounty video quick so you guys can actually see the difference of the bounties and things like that come tomorrow, about noon. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If you guys like this video, drop a like below. Check out the main channel. I'm going to keep content coming your way as Rise of Iron stuff seems to keep flowing at us like a river. So I'm just trying to decipher it piece by piece. But I wanted to get this one to you guys because the Iron Banner bounties, as you're getting closer, some of you may have turned them in. I'm sorry this is a little later, but hopefully this is helpful for you guys, maybe soon enough that you can find it beneficial. So thanks again for tuning in. Hope this was appreciated. Other than that, thank you guys as always, and have a great week. Enjoy the rest of Iron Banner, and I will check you guys in the morning for Xur. Talk to you then.